How are we doing, Michael? Thank you very much. All right, if I can just explain that we've had a few technical issues. So I'm going to ask Thomas Leach to start his presentation again, just in case anybody missed part of what he had to say. So Thomas, over to you.
Thank you, Chair. The application before you this evening relates to the former Brownsover surgery in the Borough local district centre. This is a full application for a change of use of the building from a doctor's surgery to a church, along with extensions and alterations to the building. The application has been requested to be called in before committee members by Councillor Brown for reasons of receiving local concerns of traffic and parking issues in the area around the local district centre. Moving on to the site location plan. The site is located to the east-hand side of the Borough local district centre, outlined in red in the image here. For purposes of consideration of the application, the site is identified as being within the Rugby town area of the local plan. Helvellyn Way runs to the north of the local district centre, with Borough running to the east, with the Tesco on Borough to the northwest of the district centre. Moving on to the site context. The building which the doctor's surgery occupied was granted approval in 1986 and is indicated within this image centre on the right hand side here. The building has remained vacant since the closure of the doctor's surgery in 2016. The Brownsover Medical Centre opened in 2019 and is adjacent to the site as indicated on the right hand side here. Just to run through each of the respective elevations. This here shows the elevation from Borough with the parking which would be provided on this green space here. This image shows the footpath that intersects the former Brownsover surgery with the medical centre, shown off image to the left hand side. This image shows the elevation to the side of the building with the Christ Church shown in the background. And this image shows the aforementioned Brownsover Medical Centre opened in 2019, viewed from Borough. Moving on to the proposed plans. The application involves a change of use from the doctor's surgery to the church. Through the extensions at ground floor and first floor level, the building would be remodelled to form a dual pitch building in form rather. 6 new parking spaces were provided with a new access from Borough following amendments to the application. Amended plans also involved reconfiguration and redesign of the building, and this was subject to a consultation period. 4 public objections were received, which are outlined within the Officer's reports. Warwickshire County Council Highways now have no objections to the proposal, and in support of the application, a preliminary ecological assessment which had been requested by Ecology was provided. It's now been considered by Ecology and they've made requested conditions based upon the findings of the preliminary ecological assessment. Just to run through the plans for reference, the front elevation is to the top left hand corner here. This is the elevation which you would see from the public car park to the west of the site. Respective side elevations are shown on the right hand side, with the elevation which will be seen from Borough to the bottom left-hand corner. It looks to bring a more contemporary design to the building for its remodelling rather, and I hope it can be shown, but the outline of the plan on the plans, the screen outline here, shows the shadow of what the existing building, the circumstances with comparison between that and the new building. The floor plans, move on to the floor plans, we have an auditorium style set out on the left hand image here, the ground floor. Ancillary elements to the front of the building on the ground floor, with the first floor serving more of a function room hall ancillary to the building itself. The applicant has indicated some of the design features would be shown within the proposed elevation treatments. These include, say, deep recessed window frames and some external timber effect louvers. And with the alterations, some timber cladding would be incorporated within the facing elevations of the building, similar to the medical centre next door. The site plan here shows the parking layout to the rear of the building, again, the aforementioned access that would be formed from Borough. The application site doesn't involve any alteration to the existing public car park to the west of the application site. Moving on to the key issues, the site is located within the Rugby town area of the local plan, therefore it's acceptable subject to all other material planning considerations. Firstly, an assessment has to be made as to whether it would represent a loss of a community facility. The local plan seeks to protect that available provision of community facilities. In the instance, we'd have to make an assessment that equivalent or better provision is available within the locality. In this instance, a new facility has been opened next door in 2019, which replaced the former facility. Warwickshire County Council Public Health were consulted as part of the application and wished to make no observations. And in itself, the church is a community facility, so it wouldn't represent a loss of a community facility through the change of use of this at hand. Therefore, it's considered to comply with HS3 of the local plan. Next point is design and amenity. Again, the sustainable design objectives of the local plan seek high quality and inclusive sustainable design. And again, there's a weight applied to protecting neighbouring occupiers and they're safeguarded within that local plan. In terms of design, it will bring a vacant building back into use, which currently makes no contribution to the vitality of the area. Its extensions and alterations provide a more contemporary design, and again, it's similar to that Brownsover Medical Centre, which is next to the site. In terms of residential amenity, the ridge of the building would be similar to the building that is currently in place, even though it would introduce some remodelling that would apply some more built bulk to it. It's considered, given the position of it in respect to neighbouring properties to the north and across from Borough, that there will be limited overbearance and loss of light to residential occupiers, albeit that it would essentially comply with SDC 1 of the local plan. Moving on to the highways and parking elements, the Warwickshire County Council highways were consulted as part of the amended scheme. They wish to lodge no objection to the proposal, subject to conditions 6 and 7. 6 itself relates to the new parking facilities be provided prior to the new use of the building taking effect. Again, the scheme would look to introduce 6 new parking spaces from Borough. In addition to that, there'll be existing public parking facilities available from the car park off Helvellyn Way. As part of the application, we had to make consideration to what the existing lawful use of the building is in comparison to the proposed use. With the guidance contained within the local plan, the actual proposed use would require a lesser provision than that of its existing. Therefore, it's considered that the proposal would comply with D2 of the local plan and wouldn't present the highway hazard following consultation with Warwickshire County Council Highways. With regards to other matters, I've mentioned from the start that a preliminary ecological assessment has been provided by the applicants following consultation with ecology. They would look to, they've advised that condition 5 be applied as detailed within the draft decision notice, which relates to a supervised ecologist be on the site whilst the roof is being stripped. RBC Environmental Services were consulted. They were looking at noise elements and they've requested there be no objection to the scheme subject to the inclusion of condition 8, which relates to any plant machinery be provided, details of that be provided prior to any such installation. The site does fall within the air quality management area, but again, through consultation with environmental services, they've considered an informative highlighting to the applicant of incorporating some air quality improvement measures be included within the scheme. Moving on finally to the planning balance and recommendation, it would overall enhance the character of the area, bringing an otherwise vacant building back into use, providing more contemporary design, similar in scale and form to the new medical centre next door. It would not itself represent a loss of a community facility, and there's no technical reason provided in terms of the highway concerns with highways lodging no objection to the scheme. As such, it's recommended conditional approval subject to the conditions outlined within the draft decision notice. Thank you.
Thank you, Thomas. Good use of photographs and plans there really helped those people who don't live in the area to understand it. So good report again. All right. Okay, committee, over to you. I think, who have we got? First up, Councillor Garcia.
Thank you very much, and thank you for a great report. I do know that building quite well and have thought on many occasions what an eyesore it now is. So I'm absolutely thrilled to move this as the report.
Thank you, Councillor Garcia. Councillor Butlin.
Thank you, Chair. I'll be brief. Move for a second approval. The officer has nailed every element, so I'm not going to deliberate too much on it.
Thank you. Councillor Barbara Brown.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I've just got a couple of points. I'd like to know how this fits in with sort of the regeneration plans for the development in which it sits, especially in relation to people who have got disabilities. There's a real access issue there because the provision for car parking is pretty dire at the minute. And although money for improvements has been allocated to put that right, it's not actually taken place yet. This development puts even more pressure on an already poorly maintained facility in terms of car parking. There are 6 places in the planning given to it, but the estimates from Warwickshire County Council Highways is that it will need from between 12 to 19. So I am concerned about it, although I do believe it looks like a good piece of work in terms of the actual building and so on. I think we need an assurance that the improvements that affect accessibility will be addressed, well, pretty sharpish before the additional stresses are added to car parking from the new build. So can somebody tell me a little bit about what might happen there?
Thank you. Richard, do you want to talk about the regeneration plans for the area, etc.?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I've personally not been involved in much detail to do with the plans for redeveloping the area. I mean, I know the obviously adjacent Brownsville Medical Centre, that's obviously been proposed, as Tom referred to in the report, how the design reflects it. Obviously, this particular application, I suppose it's sort of occurring a bit in a piecemeal way. This application obviously is to regenerate the existing church building, and obviously I don't know if I know the Highway Authority have commented on the application and they obviously raised no objection. I don't know if there was any additional comments about parking that they raised at all, Tom, or not. I don't think Tom can add to that or not.
Okay. Tom, can you come in on this point, please?
What the amendment sought to seek was the new additional parking to the east of the site, as opposed to, I think what's been referenced is the public parking facilities to the west of the site, which is outside of the application site. I'm not familiar with any sort of a wider schemes that involve regeneration of the local district centre itself. I think with the nature of planning, that applications come in piecemeally, not necessarily on a wider scale, but with an application such as this, we've had to consult with County Council Highways from the amendments. They've come back with no objection. I think consideration had to be made as well of its lawful use, that again and again, I mean, whatever use would be provided from making use of a redundant building, there's always going to be a highway traffic generation derived from that. But yeah, I think those are my points.
Thank you. Councillor Kieran Brown.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, in regards to the layout of the site, I did bring this into committee. There were concerns and such, but having been in correspondence with the officers and seeing that they have taken the time to consider the alterations I don't have a problem with this, and I'm actually pleased that officers and the higher ups, as such, actually took the time to take those considerations in full. So I don't have a problem.
Thank you very much. Councillor Gillius.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Yes, certainly in my recollection of the area around there is 30, 40 plus years ago. You know, anything like this, the church, I've just had a bit of a search. It's Adventist Seventh Day is the denomination, I believe. So you tend to find this sort of thing will only have a positive effect on the local community and those that get involved and use it. I think it's something we should support.
Okay. Of course, the denomination that uses it is not a material consideration. Are there any more speakers? Any more before we move into a vote? So it's been approval proposed by Councillor Garcia, seconded by Councillor Butlin. All those in favour, please raise your hands now.
That's unanimous, Chair.
Thank you very much. Wonderful. Okay, hands can go down. Thank you very much, Thomas, for that. And we're going to move now on to application R20/0655, which is 1 Summers Road, Rugby, and its change of use, and it's Chris Bates to present. So Chris, it's over to you when you're ready, please.
Thank you, Chair. A second, let me just get the presentation. Can you see my screen?
We've got several screens. We've got my screen, or part of the planning committee screen, superimposed on the presentation.
Oh. Sorry.
Perhaps somebody can advise Chris how to get rid of the...
I'll do it a different way. I'll do this.
Oh, that's better.
Is that better?
That's better.
Apologies. Right, this application R20/0655 at 1 Summers Road Rugby, it seeks the full plan permission for the change of use of the existing car park area associated with car sales and rentals to provide a modular style building for the purpose as a dog grooming parlour with associated parking and recreation area under sui generis use class. As you can see, the site is on the corner of Summers Road, Industrial Estate, and it fronts onto the corner of Addison Road, which is the main thoroughfare through Rugby. So the application site falls within the Summers Road Industrial Estate, which is identified as part of the local plan as a strategic employment site. Sites designated under this policy are intended to be retained for employment purposes in classes B1, B2 and B8, and development for other uses should not be permitted. The current use of the site is both sui generis, car sales, and B2, which is general industry. The car sales refers to the main building on the site and the associated car park, where the general industry refers to the MOT repairs building to the rear of the site, which is independent to the car sales aspect of the site. Of note, the application has been reported to planning committee due to the officer's recommendation being a departure from the RBC local plan, where this is a strategic employment site. Regards to proposals, as I've already said, it is a change of use of part of the existing car parking area. It is to provide a modular building for the a dog grooming parlour, which is to be 32 square metres, which is to compass a 8 metre width by a 4 metre depth and 2.9 metre height, with a complete site to be 211 square metres in total. The building is presented in a dark grey cladded panel walls with a single ply membrane flat roof and dark grey PVC aluminium doors and windows. The site will provide an external yard area to walk the dogs, 3 parking spaces, including one disabled space with one electric charging point. Additional landscaping is provided, which includes these low fencing around the site's perimeter, with several local jobs also to be created. Here is the proposed site plan to coincide with the what was discussed on the previous slide. As you can see, the modular building is to be sited to the back of the site, the yard area adjacent, and parking to the side with access to the front, which is off Addison Road. Regards to the elevations, here are the front and east elevation, which is seen off Addison Road, and then you've got the side south elevation at the bottom, which is as seen from the school. And the other elevations are the rear west elevation, which is from the north of the site, as seen from the car sales building, and then you have the elevation to the bottom of the screen, which is shown from the north part of the site. Here's the type of the building proposed, but please note that this is only an example and will be subject to materials submission by way of condition. Regards to photos, the top left-hand photo shows a view of the site looking across towards Addison Road from the car park itself. The top right-hand corner shows the view of the site looking towards the car sales and rentals business. The view seen to the bottom left-hand corner is from Addison Road towards the site, and the green box indicates where the existing access is to be. And the view from, then the view to the bottom right-hand corner is the view from the Summers Road from the existing business entrance towards the site, with the site in the background. Key issues: principle of development. The application site is within the Rugby urban area outside the town centre. The site is within a reasonable walking distance, and as such is considered to be a reasonably sustainable location given its proximity to Rugby town. As such, there's principle in favour of development, subject to the planning matters being appropriately addressed. Regards to the qualities, character and amenity of the area, the development will not stand out due to level variance in the immediate surrounding area when taken into context with the surrounding buildings. This takes into account the existing industrial units, much of which are approximately 6 or 7 metres in height. Also, as the modular building is set back sufficiently from any highway with a normal height and appropriate low-level landscaping, this further lessens any impact. Approval is subject to submission of materials, which is condition-free. The proposal on this basis, therefore, accords with policy STC1 of the local plan. Regards to impact on the immediate neighbouring properties, due to the nature of the business, which is to incorporate a low level of active use and low volume specification, there is considered to be very little impact on surrounding neighbouring properties and businesses. To limit any adverse impacts, RBC, Environmental Health, have advised the various conditions which are to be attached to any permissions granted. These include the provision of solid fencing to be installed around the external yard area. This will reduce the likelihood of dogs barking at visual cues of people walking past. It may also be a security consideration whereby passerbyers cannot see what breeds of dog are on show. This condition 8. There is also to be a restriction on the maximum number of dogs on site at once, which is 6. Also a restriction on operating hours, which restricts it to evening hours and weekend hours. Evening and weekend hours will not be permitted. And in addition, a plant and equipment condition will be attached should there be any air conditioning or air handling plant fitted, which is condition 6. The proposal based on the above subsequently complies with policy STC1 of the local plan. Regards to highway safety and parking facilities, highways have no objection to proposals following amended plans, which has seen the access widened and removed the existing gates, which were deemed to obstruct the public highway footpath and the carriageway and limit visibility. Sufficient parking arrangements are on site with the ability to successfully manoeuvre vehicles within the site. The development is situated within a sustainable area, being within a short walking distance to the town centre with greater accessibility to public transport. On this basis, the proposals complies with policy D2 and Appendix 5 of the RBC local plan. Matters arising from air quality. The dog grooming parlour is likely to require a boiler for the nature of its business to heat the premises and potentially provide hot water. A relevant condition, which is condition 11, is to ensure that the technology used does not assist to worsen the air quality. Subject to these matters, subject to these measures being installed, the application is considered to be in accordance with policy HS5, the local plan. Regarding employment land, policy ED1 allows for a change to non-B class use where evidence is provided to show that the site is no longer viable for that use class. Based on the supporting information, the officer satisfies that the predominant use of the land as sui generis and that the proposal would not adversely affect the function of the B use or restrict the potential future redevelopment of the site in this use class. It's unlikely that the proposal will conflict with the aims of policy ED1 and local plan. Also, a sequential test submitted reinforces the benefits the business would bring to the area by way of economic benefits and providing several jobs, whilst illustrating the choice of site selection. The officer concurs with evidence provided, which attracts further weight in favour of the proposals, as it's clearly demonstrated how and why a business of this nature could not be located within the Rugby town centre and any nearby locations. In addition, the Summers Road Industrial Estate already cases for numerous non-B use classes, one of which is a dog grooming parlour. The other non-B use classes include a martial arts school, a youth justice service, a house association, and a kids soft play unit. This indicates the concentration of different uses within the industrial estate. The proposals on this basis are seen to comply with the various elements of policy ED1 and local plan, whereby the businesses on site will not be compromised in any way or form. Regards to the planning balance, the nature of the proposal is considered to respect the scale and character of surrounding areas, whilst not impacting adversely the amenities and nearby properties and not providing any detrimental impact to highway safety. These have neutral effects in the planning balance. The proposal also seeks to provide additional employment opportunities, whilst not displacing those currently identified within the application site, as an unused area of the parking lot is to be brought into a much wider use, which would help support sustainable local communities. This weighs significantly in favour of the proposal. The application therefore complies with the local plan and national policy, and the officer recommendation is approval subject to appropriate conditions and informatives. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chris. A nice, concise report. And I have to say that the concerns that I had have all been addressed by the conditions which Environmental Health have put forward, bearing in mind that this is somebody who is wanting to invest and bring business and employment to the town economy. I think that is only to be congratulated on, and so I will move approval from the chair. Okay, what hands have we got up? Right, the first hand up is Councillor Picker.
I think you've put it as well as I could, so I will second approval.
Thank you. Councillor Gillius.
Yes, Jay, you've said it all, so I'm in support.
Okay. Anybody else? No? In that case, we'll put it to a vote. All those in favour of the change of use, please raise your hands.
That's unanimous, Chair.
Thank you very much. Okay, you can lower your hands on that one. Thank you very much, Chris. And so we'll now move on to the last application for consideration, which is R20/0689, which is 13 The Locks Rugby, which is a retrospective application, and Paul Varnish is going to present. Are you there, Paul? Over to you when you're ready. Have we lost Paul? Richard, do you know what's happening with Paul?
I'm aware he was having technical difficulties earlier on, so he was asking me to present his slides. But as far as I'm aware, because he's shown us in the meeting, so.
But he's not responding.
He's not.
Kyle?
Shall we move on to the next one?
Well, no.
Oh, can you hear me now, Chair?
Yes, we can, Paul.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Right, are you showing the slides or Richard?
Richard's going to put the slides up and I'll do the presentation, Chair.
Okay, Richard, when you're ready then, please.
Okay. The application site is 13 The Locks. It's a residential property and it is for a retrospective application for 2 outbuildings. The first outbuilding is completed and the second is part built. The application is brought before Planning Committee at the request of a councillor, as the application site is within a conservation area and the development could influence the local historic landscape and setting. Slide 2. The application site is a residential dwelling and is located at the eastern boundary of the built environment, the canal and the industrial buildings and the conservation area. To the north and east is the open countryside. You can see the dwelling it can be seen within the blue circle. Slide 3. The outbuildings will be positioned to the side of the property. The hobby room is complete. And the swim against exercise pool, or what we could class as a water running machine, is part built. And slide 4, the properties will be constructed of brick and will incorporate flat roofs, the swim against exercise pool and the hobby room. Slide 6. In terms of the principle of development, the application site is within the residential curtilage. The outbuildings are considered incidental to the main dwelling. A condition will be included that they remain as such. Therefore, there is a principle in favour of sustainable development, providing the factors of amenity, character and design, and heritage impact on the heritage asset looked at. In terms of amenity, the picture this is on slide 7. The picture to the top left shows the nearest neighbour, and the buildings are to the right hand side, so there's no real impact there. Again, in terms of amenity, the picture to the right hand side shows the part of the canal's buildings, and you can see the fence is there. That there's no impact on the amenity. And the picture to the bottom left-hand side shows just a sort of work area. So there's there'd be no impact in terms of impact on the amenities of the neighbours in terms of overlooking or loss of sunlight. In terms on slide 8, in terms of the character and appearance of the outbuildings, they will appear subservient and are of an appropriate size and scale. The bricks will be of a similar type to those used on the extensions. Consideration was given to requesting the flat roof to be replaced with a pitched slate roof, which would have a more industrial look. However, this would create a larger mass and have more of an impact on the setting. Okay, in terms of the heritage assets, the general form of the conservation area is a relatively small number of buildings within a large countryside setting. There is a church, former public house, and to the north, a larger, more concentrated group centred on the industrial canal buildings with canal workers' cottages. In terms of the impact on the heritage asset, it's considered to be less than substantial harm. The outbuildings do not adjoin the important unlisted building. In terms of the heritage asset being the conservation area, the application site is located towards the edge, away from the heart of the locks. The locks include many industrial buildings, built in conjunction with the canal. This includes a dry dock and repair area, which is directly behind. However, the outbuildings are not visible from this area. And you can see the red circle shows the application site, and then above that you can see the canal barges and the dry dock. Sorry, this is on slide 10. The main views are from the lane and countryside, with the outbuilding only being partially visible. Therefore, there is minimal impact on the setting of the heritage asset in the conservation area. And the picture to the left just shows the top of the building. This is to the front of the property. And then looking down the lane, you can see again the fence further down in the building, just been visible over the top of the fence. Slide 11. The outbuildings would have been considered permitted development if positioned behind the red line, which can be seen on the left-hand plan. Also, the hobby room replaces a container which was previously used as a hobby room, and you can see that on the right-hand side, that the container and inside what the hobby room would have looked like. Slide 12. Other matters, there's no detrimental impacts for residential amenity, highway safety, air quality, and ecology. So, in terms of it is therefore considered the application should be approved subject to conditions advised within the agenda. Thank you, Chair.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that presentation, and I think the photographs illustrate exactly the importance of the conservation and the industrial heritage that we've got there. Councillor Picker.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Paul, for the report. I do have a bit of sympathy for the applicant on this one, because I think whoever advised them that this was under permitted development, they were clearly poorly advised. And I do think it's important that we take development, particularly retrospective development in conservation zones, very seriously. However, on this particular occasion, I think what's been done is absolutely fine, and therefore I will recommend approval. And I'm sad to see that it had to come before us.
Thank you. Councillor Butlin.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, quickly, as Councillor Picker has just about summed it up quite well. If it was a straightforward application, I still wouldn't have been able to find any reason why we couldn't get permission. It's just unfortunate it's a retrospective, which we always frown upon, but we are where we are, and I would second move for approval.
Thank you. Councillor Gillius.
Yes, Chair. From my way, I think it's always best to go through the right routes to get a building built. Simply because, through the planning process, it can be decided on what materials you use and what it looks like. And that way you can get something that complements the area that it's built in, and particularly sensitive areas such as conservation areas. We've always got to be on the lookout for this sort of thing, because once these structures are built, they're built. And we want to be able to look back in years to come and think that, what's been approved is something that's going to, be enjoyed by everybody in the future. But we are where we are, as Councillor Buckman has intimated, and so here we go to the vote, no doubt.
Okay, Councillor Garcia, was your hand going up there or not?
No, sorry, I overshot the vote.
Yeah, I think committee have summed it up well, that, we have a planning process for a very good reason, to make sure that anything that is built conforms to all our policies, and that retrospective applications, all too often, the building is built and we're asked to approve something that we've had no input, or the officers have had no input into it. So I think that message needs to go out loud and clear, that you cannot just go ahead and build and then assume that the committee will agree to what, or that the officer will agree to what you've said. So I think we've made the point that there is a principle at stake here. Right, it's been proposed by Councillor Picker, seconded by Councillor Butlin. All those in favour, please show. How are we doing?
That's 9, 10, 11, sorry, 11-4.
Okay. Is that unanimous, I think now, isn't it?
Yes, that's unanimous, Chair.
Okay. Thank you very much. Right, hands down, everybody. Right, that brings a conclusion to agenda item 4, which are the applications for consideration. So we move on to agenda item 5, which are advance notice of site visits on planning applications. Richard?
We haven't received any further ones. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. All right, we move on to agenda item 6, delegated decisions. Richard, would you like to take us through this one then?
Again, it's just for members to note. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. We all note it then. Do we need to put our hands up on that one? No,
no, that's fine.
That's fine. OK. So we don't need to put our hands up. Councillor Keeling, did you wish to say something? No, you were just voting.
No.
Right.
Yeah.
That's fine. OK, so that brings to a conclusion the business of the Planning Committee tonight. I'd like to thank everybody for their attendance and for their input, whether you were an officer, a member of the committee, a speaker, or you were merely observing online. And as this is our last committee meeting before Christmas, it's traditional that I wish everybody a very happy Christmas, whatever circumstances we find ourselves in, and wish that hopefully in 2021 we will find ourselves in a better position. Although committee, I have to warn you, we will be continuing to meet on Microsoft Teams for the foreseeable future. Thank you, everybody. Good evening and good night.
Thank you. Happy Christmas to you, Catherine.
Merry Christmas, everyone. Bye.
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 Good night.
Michael, you can stop the stream now.